this upcoming week marks, and it's been a long time, and we've been waiting a long time to say this, but the European Tour is back. What are you most looking forward to about the return of the European Tour?
Yeah, it's going to be good, and you can brag about them picks from a couple of years ago, but we'll be touching on the picks from last week's show in a little bit, so we'll see how you got on in those ones. But just before I get into this answer, actually, there was some, I suppose, breaking news you can say on this show, but you'll be hearing it a few days later after we've recorded. But PDC have just announced the dates and the venues, if you like, for two more European Tour events after this weekend. The third and fourth one's going to be in Sindelfingen and Riesa during October, so we're going to get 4 events for the European Tour this year, and yes, it's been one of the biggest shames on the darts calendar that we haven't had the 13 events, the debut in Hungary, the return to Prague, some big events there that we all were looking forward to. But I suppose, yeah, it's just nice to see this event back on, the European Tour back on. It's one of the tours that we all love to watch at the weekends. You get to see the top names play in front of big crowds. But on the flip side as well, you get to see some players that come through those qualifiers, the tour card qualifiers behind closed doors, and get that chance to play on the big stage. And it's a quicker route for some of these players to get on the big stage, get in front of the cameras before they make their TV debuts or get into those TV events. So I'm looking forward to that respect, seeing some players lower down the rankings get that chance again. Also, though, I've got to give a shout out to a few players that have come through that tour card qualifier, but you'd probably put them in that top 16 in the world. I know it's not the top 16 in the world, is the Pro Tour top 16, but you look at the likes of Michael Smith, Devon Peterson, Danny Noppert. These are players that have qualified and going to be playing in that first round on Friday, and depending on how the draw comes out, they could get one of the big boys in the second round. Scott Waits as well, one of our guests you're going to hear from in a moment. He's making his debut. That'll be good to see a former world champion play on that big stage, European Tour stage, for the first time. And we've also got to give a mention as well, this is the last event before the cut-off for the World Grand Prix. So there's a few players in there that are currently in there, I think 14th and 15th spot, that are in there, but perhaps they might need to pick up a win or two at the weekend just to make sure that they're in, because there's a few players underneath that if they have a decent run, they could nick those last couple of spots. And one of them, of course, Mervyn King, he's qualified for the World Grand Prix for the last 13 years, and there's a couple of players that have had long runs that are missing out this year already. We know Simon Whitlock, Steve Beaton, they're not going to be involved. Mervyn King, hoping that he doesn't add his name to the list, and I think he probably needs 1 win, possibly 2, to get in there. So that's going to be an interesting watch to see which players can get into that field for the World Grand Prix in Coventry.
Yeah, exactly. And another one that you didn't mention, because this is, how often does this happen? But because of the fact that the cutoff for this event was 6-7 months ago now, one of the seeded players needs to win his first round match to get to the World Grand Prix, and Johnny Clayton. Well, sorry, not his first round match, his second round match, but his first match. Johnny Clayton, he's the number 13 seed in this. And yet, if he loses that first match, will not be in the World Grand Prix, because he's fallen out of the top 32 of the Pro Tour Order of Merit altogether in the interim. Mostly due to no fault of his own, just because he's had some bad draws in the few Players' Championship events, and was defending a bunch of money over the course of the summer for events that never happened. So Johnny Clayton's going to need to win a match. Mervyn King's going to need to win 1, maybe 2, depending on what happens. And that leaves Matters Rosma just barely clinging on, hoping that results go his way, and we won't know till the draw comes out whether that'll be. But I think that's what I'm most looking forward to, is to see how the last weekend before the cutoff for the World Grand Prix goes out, because we're going to see a bunch of names we've never seen before playing in, well, not in Dublin, but in Coventry. Granted, I think most of these players have never played in Coventry, because they haven't played in Coventry in quite some time now. But always playing the World Grand Prix. But I think that's what I'm most looking forward to. But also the European Tour atmosphere. It is what makes the Pro Tour great, is having those European Tour events, and we've missed them, and it's so good to have them back. Basically, I'm just looking forward to everything this weekend, except for the NFL. I'm definitely not looking forward to the NFL because my team is terrible.